يا عباد الله هبوا ونداء الحق لبوا فاعبدوه مخلصين.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May the peace and blessings of Allah be upon you, beloved viewers of MTA. It pleases to welcome you to another interesting episode of our program, Stories of Devotion. As usual on the show, we host missionaries of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community as guests to share with us inspiring stories of their devotion in the service of God, Islam, and humanity. And today's show promises to be more interesting as I have with me Hafiz Abdul Ganiy Shobambi Sahib, a central missionary of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat of Nigeria, who has served for over 3 decades in the country. Hafiz Sahib, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
It's exciting to host you on the program today.
Thank you very much. Alhamdulillah.
MashaAllah. And to start with, can you kindly introduce yourself, your background, family background, early education, and what have you?
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. As it was rightly mentioned earlier, I am Hafiz Abdul Ganiy Shobambi. I was born on the 11th of May, 1966, a twin.
MashaAllah.
By the time my mother had the pregnancy, my father promised God that this pregnancy, after delivered, will be dedicated to God. But unfortunately, after I passed my primary school, it was then that my father remembered that he had made a promise with God. I went to Ansaruddin Primary School and I finished in 1978. And I am from Abeokuta, but I lived from my childhood in Lagos, Ebute Metta.
MashaAllah. Coming from that background you have just shared, at what stage in your life did you decide to dedicate your life, to devote your life as missionary of the Jamaat, and what inspired that decision at that time?
It wasn't a decision for myself. Like I said earlier, it was a decision made by my dad that this, my child, I'm going to dedicate to Allah for the service of Allah, humanity, and Islam. Because Ahmadiyya got into my family as far back as late 40s. So, and my father was a staunch preacher. So, Alhamdulillah, they decided and made that decision. And when I finished my primary school, I was supposed to go to secondary school. But maybe Allah's doing, I was unable to gain admission to a secondary school. Not that I was not a brilliant chap. I was brilliant enough. I was topping my class in primary school. So it was when Maulana Muhammad Mashahid Sahib made
He was the then
Amira missionary in charge. So that was 1978. So when he made that announcement, several children were brought to the mission house 45 Idumagbo Avenue, Lagos. And when I got there,
that was the then national headquarters.
That was the national headquarters of Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat then. So when I got there, he asked me some questions, and I was the only boy that was taken that day. So I met some boys in the mission house, like Isaac Kahome and others. So I started. He made Baba Alhaj B.B. Balogun to be our teacher, that is Quranic teacher he was teaching, though I had learned how to read the Quran. So Alhaji B.B. Balogun started to teach us. And Maulana Muhammad Ajmashai decided that I should go to Pakistan to memorize Quran.
Mashallah.
He wrote to Rabwa, but no reply came until the third Khalifa visited Nigeria in 1980, August. So in August 1980, I had a rare opportunity to serve the third Khalifa when he came on that trip.
That's great.
And when I served him, I stood by the door of the sitting room. Then Uzur was being requested by all those that were present for prayers. So when he got to me, he said, "What's my name?" When he asked, and I told him Abdul Ghani. He said, "What are you doing here?" So immediately the wife of Maulana Ajmashai took over from there and told him in Urdu that I was staying with them for the past 3 years. I want to go for memorization of the Holy Quran, and that they are waiting for approval. Then Uzur kissed my forehead and said, "Do you want to go for memorization of the Holy Quran? You want to go for Hifz in Rabwa?" I said, "I want to go." "You want to become an Hafiz?" I said, "Yes, I wish I could become an Hafiz." Then Uzur said, "Don't worry, you will go." So that was the beginning of my journey
Mashallah.
as an Hafiz. And I happened to be the last of among the 5 children or students, young boys that were sent to Rabwa for memorization of Holy Quran. The first person that went was Hafiz Mubarak Kukoyi in 1976, while 3 others went in 1978. And that was Hafiz Musliuddin Okpayemi, Hafiz Sulaiman Abidemi Dawood, and Hafiz Abdul Qudus Kukoyi. And I went in December 18th, 1980 for memorization of the Holy Quran.
Mashallah, that was 1980.
Yeah.
So getting to Rabba, how was the experience?
When we left on the 18th of December 1980 with the contingent going for Jalsa Salana, and Alhamdulillah, we got to Karachi and then flew down to Lahore. On getting to Lahore, the first person I met which elated me was the Sahaba of the Promised Messiah, alayhi salatu wasalam, Sir Chaudhry Sir Zafullah Khan Sahib. We went to meet him at the house of Chaudhry Nasrullah Sahib's house in Lahore. He was the first Sahaba I met.
So you were then enrolled in the Jamia, the Hifz school.
Yes, I was then enrolled into the Hafiz class. I started my memorization on 15th of January 1981. And I spent 4 years memorizing the Quran.
So meaning you completed the memorization in 1980 what?
84.
That's 84.
Ending of 84.
Mashallah. So how were you graduated from Tahfiz school there to missionary school there?
For me to join missionary school, it wasn't my plan. It was the plan of late Maulana Abdul Rashid Ahmad Agbola. When I finished memorization of the Quran, Maulana Abdul Rashid Ahmad Agbola told me, he said, "You don't need to go home. It's better for you to join Jamia. Since Hafiz Musliuddin did the same after memorization of the Holy Quran, so you should join." That is how I joined Jamia Ahmadiyya. And you know, while I was in Hafiz class, I had learned how to read and write Urdu. In Jamia, we have a special class for the foreigners, which is called Fasul Khas. Most of the foreigners spend 2 years, Fasul Khas Awal, Fasul Khas Sani. They have 2 years.
Fasul Khas means what?
Special class.
Mashallah.
So it is meant for the foreigners, not meant for the Pakistanis, to learn Urdu and some rudiments of some languages. So I was in that class for a day. Then Maulana Agbola Sahib, Abdul Rashid Sahib told me that go and meet the principal. Our principal then was Sayyid Mahmoud Nasir Sahib. So when I told him that those that are in Ula or Mumahada, I can speak Urdu better than them. So if I'm placed in that class, I will do better. So he now made a team of Arabic, Urdu, and English professors to test me. And I was tested, and on the second day, I was told to go to the next class. So that's how 2 years was saved from my program. And Alhamdulillah, educationally, Jamia was wonderful. I was good. The teachers were wonderful because we met such scholars that were wonderful ones.
That's great. That's great.
I can remember Malak Saifur Rahman Sahib. He was one of our principal. Malak Mubarak Sahib, Jalil Sahib, and Naz Sahib, and a host of others we met. And they taught us. And today we are shining here because we had those teachers.
Mashallah, that was a great a memory you have shared with us. So, when did you complete your study in Jamia?
I graduated December 1988. Then I was sent into the offices for about 2-3 months. Then after which I returned to Nigeria on 15th of March 1989.
15th of March 1989. That was the return of Hafiz Shobambi Sahib to Nigeria.
Alhamdulillah.
Mashallah. Beloved viewers, this is Stories of Devotion, and our guest today is Hafiz Shobambi Sahib, a central missionary of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat of Nigeria. He has taken us through his background, particularly how his father promised God to dedicate him to the service of God while still in pregnancy. And he also told us how, with the effort of the then Amir of Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat of Nigeria, Maulana Muhammad Ajmal Shahid, selected him to go to Jamia, to Rabwa, to memorize the Holy Quran, and also how late Maulana Mavi Agbola Sahib also inspired him to go further into Jamia and become a missionary of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat. Now he has returned to Nigeria. Coming back to Nigeria, where was your first place of a service and what was the experience?
Coming down to Nigeria, Maulana Abdurrashid Ahmad Agbola has become the Amir. So I had wonderful opportunity to work with him. He kept me on my toes, actually, because on the Quran, Hadith, and some other things. But one thing I need to mention here, on returning to Nigeria, my mother had passed on 6 years before then, which I was not aware or I was not told. And even the missionaries that were present during the burial of my mother that came to Rabwa to study, they were warned that they should not tell me that my mother had gone back to God. Even while I was returning, I bought some things for my mother. So it was the day I got here home and I was asking, where is this old woman? And everybody was silent. Then I got to know that my mother had passed on. And it was 6 years before my return.
That must be quite emotional then.
So it was very emotional because I was expecting to see her. But her prayer has been accepted also.
Mashallah.
Because I had the opportunity to serve in Lagos as a Lagos State missionary, and I had resided at 45 Idumagbo Avenue, where I was a small boy working for the Amir.
So that was your first place of service?
That was
then?
my first place of serving, the Jamaat. And, you know, while in Jamia, I got to know that anything they teach you in Jamia means a lot to what you are going to meet in the field. You know, we had Nangli Saab, who was our lecturer for comparative religious studies. I don't used to stay in his class because he's fond of giving us a lot of references. He will give you about 40 references in a period. So I used to run away from the period. So our principal then, Mir Mahmoud Saab, now called me and said, Hafiz, don't run away from the class. Even if you don't understand what they are teaching you, be in the class. So I stayed in the class. I passed all my subjects very well. So on getting to Nigeria, there was a program that the Ansarullah organized at Mushin. Alhaji A.G.A. Daramola was invited to come and give a speech there.
As a missionary?
As a missionary of the Jamaat. So I was the chairman of the program. So when Alhaji Daramola was talking, he was quoting profusely from the Bible, from the Quran, from the local traditional religion, which I was unable to do then. So that inspired me that what sort of a Murabbi I am, that I will now say I'm a senior to these Mualimin when I did not know what the style and everything that they are using. So I now started reading the Bible. I read the Bible from Genesis to Malachi, from Matthew to Revelation thrice. And Alhamdulillah, today I have Bible on my fingertips.
MashaAllah. And you must have been impressed by the effort of that your teacher back in the Jamia.
Of course, because they were teaching us, we never knew it's something that will turn out to be our weapons.
MashaAllah. So before going further, our viewers would like to know what are the duties of missionaries? What do they do?
Fundamentally, the duty of a missionary are the duties that the prophets are doing, because they are stepping in the shoes of the prophet. So they are to teach the book, they are to teach wisdom, they are to purify themselves and purify others, and they are to explain the messages of God. A missionary fundamentally should mirror himself to the people like a messenger of God. He should try as much as possible to show love to the members of the community and other members of the society and the Jamaat. Teach them the message of the Holy Quran, the Sunnah of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, and give his practical examples.
MashaAllah, and that's are quite great duties being performed by the missionaries. Moving on, let us digress a bit to a personal life of a missionary. Talking of marriage, do missionaries marry? And if yes, when did you marry? And how have you been able to combine the duties of being a life devotee, a husband and a father?
Well, Islam as a religion permits marriage. In other religions, or in some religion, they may say that a missionary should not marry. But Islam says, La rahbaniyata fil Islam. So celibacy is not accepted in Islam. I returned to Nigeria on the 15th of March, 1989, and got married on the 9th of March, 1991.
Inshallah.
And as a missionary, I tried as much as possible to take care of my wife. I started having children in 1991, and Alhamdulillah, I must say that taking care of the home, I tried within my given capacity, but the home front was duly taken care of by the wife.
Inshallah.
Wives of missionary, actually, they are the one doing the greater job of taking care of the home. Because I, as a missionary, generally, I don't stay home too much. I'm always on tabligh expedition, debate, and all these sort of things.
Inshallah.
So the kudos goes to our wives. Just about 2 years ago, I had a second wife who had been married before.
Inshallah, and we are all doing fine.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, that's great. And now, I would like to ask, you have served for over 3 decades, and that means you must have been to various parts of the country and also served in various capacities. Where are those places?
I was firstly posted to Lagos, as I said earlier. I served in Lagos State from 1989 to 1993. Then 1993 to 1994, I served in Ondo State, Akure, precisely coordinating Ondo State. Then in 1994, when Alhaji Engineer Hussein Oyekami Sumano was made the Amir, I was appointed by the fourth Khalifa as his personal assistant to translate Urdu and take care of Urdu letters. So that was the first ever that happened in Nigeria. So I had the rare opportunity to serve as the personal assistant to the Amir. And from there, in 1996, I was posted to Shaki. And 1997, I was now posted back to Ibadan. From Ibadan, I served till 2001. Then later, I was posted to Jamia. To put it on record, the Hafiz class program that today Jamaat Ahmadiyya Nigeria is enjoying.
Where they are memorizing the Holy Quran.
Yes, of course. I had the rare opportunity to start teaching them the memorization. It was the duty of Hafiz Muslim Okwayemi. He was appointed, but unfortunately, he took ill. And I was seconded to come around and start
Mashallah.
the Hafiz class on 23rd of March 1997.
Have you served in other parts of the world and in foreign
Well,
countries?
I've served also in Cameroon and Republic of Benin,
Mashallah.
where we had a good number.
So presently,
of
where are you
members.
serving?
Presently, I'm a deputy coordinator of Hafiz class Nigeria.
You must have produced a number of Hufaz, memorizers
By
of
the
the
grace
Quran.
of God, we have been able to produce since 1997 368 Hufaz.
Mashallah. Now, having served for several years in various places in the country, you must have faced a lot of challenges and difficulties in the course of your service to God, Islam, and humanity. How were you able to walk through them successfully?
As a missionary, you will face different kind of challenges in the field. The field is quite different to what you have observed as a student. You need to be prayerful. You need to be very strong, because sometimes you will take decisions that the members may not go along with you. So you need to stand firm to institute the Nizami Jamaat and several other things. So
What challenges have you faced in maybe in the course of Tabligh, preaching the message of God in Nigeria, in Benin Republic, or where else you have served?
I have experienced a lot of things, because Tabligh is always what I love. So I met a lot of challenges. For example, there was one anti-Ahmadi scholar that finished from Saudi Arabia, Abdurrafi Owonla. So he wrote a book, and that was his thesis to earn him PhD. Writing thesis against a community to earn PhD. Limaza yulamul Ahmadiyun. Why do they blame the Ahmadis? So he showcased this in his own town, challenging us that it was Ahmadi were not Muslims and so on. So I was among the team that faced him, because I had met him when he came to Rabwa. While in the course of our studies in Rabwa, he came. Well, he was in Saudi Arabia, but he was on holidays. He came round. So Maulana Abdrashid Agbola asked him then that he posed himself as a bookseller. He didn't mention that he was a student. But Agbola said, no, the way you speak Arabic, you are not a student. So I met him then there. So the day of our debate, I told him, you are calling us, you came, you told lies then, and today, I'm the one facing you. That small boy that you met in Rabwa is the one facing you today. So you lied there, and you are lying about Jamaat today. And he was utterly disgraced on that very day.
Mashallah, the Jamaat Ahmadiyya has been blessed with having the institution of Khilafat established in our contemporary time. And I would like you to share with us your experiences with this Khalifa briefly.
My experience with the third Khalifa As a young boy, I used to write him. He used to reply and sign. Then, with the same, when I went to Rabwa, the fourth Khalifa was our patron for the Foreign Students Union. So we enjoyed a lot of things before he became a Khalifa. And when he became the Khalifa, I remember vividly, he took us to Ahmad Nagar in his farm. And we enjoyed a lot of grace with those Khalifa. And when he passed on and the fifth Khalifa came in, I had known the fifth Khalifa, and I enjoyed one grace with him. Alhamdulillah, I had rare opportunity that I drank with the Khalifa. You know, anybody that had lived in Rabwa will know Alchemist. Alchemist is a pharmaceutical shop. In front of it, there's a sweet shop. Inside it, I drank tea with the Khalifa, not knowing that I was drinking with a future Khalifa.
MashaAllah. That's great. And talking of your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because as a man of who has devoted his life for the service of God and humanity, it is expected. Theoretically, people believe he must be working with God. How practically have you experienced that?
Well, I cannot say much about myself. Those that know me and that have experienced acceptance of prayers through whatever they must have brought to me, they are the one that can say anything about that. But as a Muslim, as a missionary, I try as much as possible to follow the injunctions of the Quran and the Sunnah of the Holy Prophet ﷺ. That's what I can say about myself.
MashaAllah. And that's instructive and inspiring as well. Now, summarily, having served the Jamaat as a missionary over the years to this level, would you, looking back to the past decades, would you describe yourself as fulfilled in the career, the missionary career you have chosen?
The little services I have been able to render to the Jamaat, I can say Alhamdulillah. But see, spiritually, the terrace and the terrain of mankind's yearning does not end. La mutanahi. So I pray that I should be given the opportunity to serve as long as I live, so that it will be an unending, fulfilled pleasure to me.
MashaAllah, to be given more and more opportunities to serve as long as you live. So for the viewers out there, what advice would you like to give them?
The greatest vocation anyone can join or involve in is the work of missionary, is the work of the angels, is the work of the messengers. And no work is closer to it, because God emphatically mentioned in the Holy Quran that وَمَنْ أَحْسَنُ قَوْلًا مِمَّنْ دَعَا إِلَى اللَّهِ. Who is better in speech than he that calls onto the path of Allah? So the work of missionary is to call to the path of Allah. So, and God has ascertained and marked it and said, the best profession anyone can join.
MashaAllah. So our guest today has shared with us various experiences he has gained in the course of his over 3 decades of service in the service of God and humanity and Islam. Hafiz Sahib, Jazakallah khairan for being part of the show today. MashaAllah, he has taught us the lessons of dedication to the way of Allah and of service to humanity, and being connected with the Khalifa of their time and establishing relationship with God. It has been a great time on the show today. If you have comments or questions, you can always get in touch with us via Africa at mta.tv. Until next time, when we shall meet on the show, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.